Speaking to Country Director of Synergos Nigeria, Adewale Ajadi, agriculture is the most challenging, most disciplined and most inspirational thing to do. Good to have you join us on today's episode of Nigeria's first agricultural show on TV. My name is Faith Ezengwere. Expect to be rejuvenated as we have a great show packaged for you today. Be a part of the show by sending your comments and suggestions to our social media platforms showing on your screen. Agro On TV will be right back. Stay with us.
Are you part of the next generation of Nigerians determined to rescue the dwindling economy? Is your company directly or indirectly involved in agro-related business? Welcome to Agro Nigeria, where your products and services matter to us. Advertise with us on our television program, Agro On TV, as well as our exclusively focused print and veteran news magazine with over 89.9 million combined audiences. Agro Nigeria is the pioneer media brand that specializes in agricultural sector-specific reportage in Nigeria. Over the decade, through its parent company, Video Vision Limited, we have succeeded in promoting Nigeria's agricultural sector as a viable revenue earner and building a sizable customer base by so doing. For advert placement, management of agricultural projects and events, contact us at Worola House, 90 Allen Avenue, Ikeja, Lagos, or call 0809-778-2665. Agro Nigeria, Nigeria's agricultural mouthpiece.
In case you missed it, the African Development Bank annual meeting was held in Gujarat State in India, and yours truly, Agro On TV, was there for coverage. Watch this special report as we join the rest of Africa to transform agriculture into wealth.
What Africa does for agriculture is not only important for Africa, it will shape the future of food in the world. These are the words of Dr. ICYMI Adesina, President of the African Development Bank. The African Development Bank Group is a multilateral finance institution with the mission of combating poverty and improving living conditions in Africa by promoting investment of public and private sector capital in projects and programs that will contribute to the socio-economic development of the region. On Monday, May 22, 2017, the 52nd annual meetings of the AfDBAM Group commenced in Ahmedabad, Gujarat State of India. Expectations were high from participants who began to troop in hundreds. To some, it is their first time in India. To others, it was their first annual meetings with AfDBAM. And as I say in Indian, Namaste.
Well, I'm particularly excited because this hall is so well, it depicts very well the hi-fis we do. As you can see, everything was made right outside. I think there's a lot of sense of enthusiasm and dynamism for this annual meeting. And I think we're going to have a great annual meeting.
I expect this week to be quite interesting. First time is rarely you get to meet a wide assortment of African business people and advisors and thinkers and government functionaries. Is really to understand how are they looking at their next few years journey and what is the key development imperatives that they're setting out for themselves. Then we can see if there's a way we can conjoin ourselves in that journey.
The official opening of the event took place on day 2 with several heads of states and presidents of African nations in attendance. Benin Republic, Senegal, Cote d'Ivoire, Kenya and Ghana were among the African countries represented at the event.
The focus of this year's annual meeting is on our second high five, Feed Africa. There's no better place to have that discussion than right here in India. The Green Revolution turned India from depending on the largest of others to a food self-sufficient nation and now a global powerhouse in food. And it took just 3 years to turn all of that around. It was not a miracle. It was political will mixed with resolve to develop with dignity. To develop with pride, Africa must feed itself.
In his formal opening declaration of the event, the Prime Minister of the Republic of India, Narendra Modi, vowed to stand by Africa in ensuring that the transformation agenda of the AfDB is achieved.
In the sports arena, India cannot compete with Africa in long distance running. But I can assure you that India will always stand with you, shoulder to shoulder, supporting you in the long and difficult race for a better future. Excellencies and ladies and gentlemen, I now have a great pleasure in officially declaring the annual meetings of the Board of Governors of the African Development Bank Group open.
With the theme Transforming Agriculture for Wealth Creation in Africa, the Mahatma Mandis Conference and Exhibition Center played host to participants all over the world. In his usual manner, the president of the African Development Bank Group, Dr. Adesina, on a daily basis visited each seminar hall and highlighted the bank's effort in the implementation of its 10-year strategy encapsulated in the High Five priorities. The High Five projects include Light Up and Power Africa, Feed Africa, Industrialize Africa, Integrate Africa, and improve the quality of life for the people of Africa.
And they must see agriculture as cool as a business. And Dr. Sanginga is here from the Director General of IITA, who is doing a fantastic job of young people in agriculture. We must make agriculture so cool, because that's where you make a lot of money. It's going to be in agriculture. I firmly believe that the future millionaires and billionaires of Africa are not going to come from oil and gas sector. They're going to come from the agriculture sector. So therefore, we must change our approach to agriculture. It's not a development sector. It's not a social sector. It's a business. And the faster Africa looks at it as a business, the better Africa will be in terms of conserving foreign exchange, in terms of transforming rural areas, and creating future billionaires that Africa should have coming from agriculture. I know we'll hear a lot from these people, but thank you all for being here. Nothing could be more important. Thank you.
In each of these visits, Dr. Adesina reiterated the need to transform agriculture to wealth in Africa. Many of the high-level meetings explored how India and Africa can work together in order to achieve the shared goal of rural and agricultural transformation, which would go a long way in reducing poverty and improving the quality of lives of rural people.
I'm very happy to say that it brings nutrition and food security to over 1 million households. Today, we are aiming to touch around 1.5 million households by June 2017. And in the process, the farmers get fair returns, and the landless laborers who work as the sales force of Rudy, they get enough employment opportunities, and the households have, nutrition and food security.
The Minister of Agriculture of China got off the plane in Des Moines to receive the World Food Prize. They lifted 500 million people out of poverty. I believe Africa can do the same. I believe this is the way. It's clear that you have to have infrastructure to get the food from the smallholder, where they grow it, process it, the infrastructure, the value chain to move it. Dr. Borlaug would love roads. They were key. He told young students, if you don't have a road, There's no reason to grow the food. You can't get it to the people who need it.
The way we have discussed in this meeting, and I like this, we are beginning to crack the heart of the matter. We have to invest. Women must have access to finance. You are not going to be able to produce more if you cannot invest in fertilizer. You can't invest in a tractor to grow more land. We cannot go the traditional way. I think we are going to make money. So the heart of the matter is in money. Accessing women money, knowledge at the market, processing, value adding, really opening the big opportunities.
The 2017 edition of the African Economic Outlook and a book on beating the odds, jumpstarting developing countries, were launched alongside the financial presentation of the bank's operation for the previous year.
I think as Africans we have a culture where we don't like to borrow anyways, and I think that we have to change that attitude, because it's not all borrowing that is bad, I mean, sometimes leverage is good, but you need to make people responsible and understand credit, and in the West people have credit cards by the time they're 17, 18, learn how to handle credit, learn how to pay their bills on time, and that then becomes a habit. So when they go and borrow, they know they have to pay back.
If we really want to take our own goals serious, if we really want to implement Agenda 2063 and Agenda 2030 and the high fives of the African Development Bank, then we cannot continue with business as usual, because for sure our taxpayers' money will by far not be sufficient. So we have to incentivize private finance to come in, and this requires a different approach from all the relevant actors.
Bilateral meetings and briefings by organizations and businesses, as well as expositions, were also held on the sidelines of the meetings. The bank signed a series of project funding agreements and memorandum of understanding with the governments of Gujarat State, South Sudan, and a number of other African and Asian countries. One of the most significant of the meetings was the Nollywood meets Bollywood session, which had two of the best movie industries in the world.
You must have designated ambassadors. I suggest have some directors, producers on different levels of filmmaking that are committed to the cause. They have to be passionate about it, understand it, and then take it on as something that they don't mind, so that you don't even have to push them to once in a while talk about it.
Start with something small and begin to introduce yourself as an actress and a farmer. The youth are actually going to be totally shocked and say, a farmer, what is that? It could be a small patch somewhere, but start there. I think by the time you retire, then we're going to have a whole lot of, a generation of people that have already lost interest. So please do what you can. This is an issue of food security. It's an issue that pertains to our future, and I can't think of any other field, any other sector than agriculture that can absorb.
After my retirement, when I'm 50, I want to grow my own organic food. So maybe I'll go into farming.
From the standpoint of government, we felt the need that the government needed to begin to see, the possibilities that agriculture could necessarily confer on, the polity. By so doing, we needed to show that agriculture was different. Agriculture wasn't about drudgery. It could happen in the agricultural space. And like you said, the first responses we had was, is this about agriculture? Ada Osakwe, if she's still here, got into the room on the day when she was being conferred an award, and she's like, wow, this is the real deal. So gradually, we've done this for 3 years now. People are getting very comfortable with used to the idea that, things are changing in the agricultural space.
Thank you very much, Richard. And I must say, it's a very well put together event. It's almost Oscar-like if you haven't attended one of them. When's the next one? Next year? I just really commend you for that. You've put your money where your mouth is, not just professionally, but for those who don't know, Richard is an attorney by profession who ditched the wig and the gown about 13 years ago, and he has pursued his passion in media around agriculture.
The prestigious gala night, which saw winners emerge from the 2017 Africa Banker Awards, had Benedict Okeorama, president of Afrexim Bank, emerged as the Banker of the Year and Nigeria's Guarantee Trust Bank as Bank of the Year. The Minister of Finance of the Year went to Senegalese Amadou Ba, while the Central Bank Governor of the Year was backed by Bansat Roy of Mauritius. In his closing remarks, Adesina urged African leaders as well as private investors in Africa to be more committed to ensuring the development of agriculture in the region. According to him, the bank needs bold optimism comparable to the kind of optimism that made Warren Buffett give $30 billion to the Bill and Melinda Gates Foundation in 2006 to do more for the world.
When I look at India, and I stand here in Gandhinagar, where this center was built after Mahatma Gandhi. He said, be the change you want to see. And throughout all these annual meetings, every single person is trying to be the change we want to see. And the change we want to see is to light up and empower Africa, is to feed Africa, is to industrialize Africa, is to integrate Africa, and of course to improve the quality of life of the people of Africa.
The Gandhinagar encounter is the fourth time that the annual meetings of the AfDBAM are being held outside Africa after Spain in 2001, China in 2007, and Lisbon, Portugal in 2011. And as the curtain falls, Busan, South Korea will host the 53rd meetings of the AfDB. The clarion call from the AfDB group means there is more expected of African leaders to Africans. The 52nd annual meetings of the Africa Development Bank have come and gone. Issues affecting the growth of Africa were raised. Solutions were preferred by over 3,000 major stakeholders on how best to transform agriculture for wealth creation in Africa. But the question on the lips of many is, how responsible is the continent's political leadership in actualizing this? Idris Kasumu, Agro On TV News.
Of agriculture in the country depends on how we treat the people involved in the sector. Joining me on AgroStyle today is Adewale Ajadi, the country director of Synergos Nigeria Limited. He is a passionate believer of Nigeria's economic diversification. Take a look.
Well, Synergos Institute, which is nearly about 30 years old, is an organization set up primarily to work on systemic change for the poor, or systemic change for inclusive prosperity. Is my own phrase, not necessarily the official phrase, but it's about making sure that the poor have a better option and a better return on being members of society, looking at the system especially. Our system blockages, our systems are designed, or how the effect of system exclude them from life chances, and improving those life chances in a way that allows them to be equal and credible participants in the societies. It's an idea from the International Livestock Research Institute. It's academically proven, incredible way to turn cassava peels, which is usually waste, and actually very difficult to get rid of waste into livestock feed. And we came across it in IITA and felt that this was a credible way to start to deal with some of the challenges that we're facing in agriculture. So the challenge of empowering women, especially women are the ones that peel cassava. Incidentally, about 70% of the labor force for agriculture is women. So you're talking about the majority of the workforce who rarely ever benefit from the enlargement and improvements in agriculture. And we know for a fact that when women make money, the money is invested in the family. It means also that when women make money, the children are better educated, they have better nutrition. So this is a massive opportunity for us to really support academically proven thing, test it out. We're pioneering it in Kogi State and here in Benue State. Test it out. See that there is a processing industry where women can take the lead, because processing is also important. It's one thing to produce agricultural crops. It's another thing to turn it into viable, long-term, sustainable things. And cassava is one of those crops that if you start to process it, if you don't finish the processing, it goes to waste. So whether it's the tuber that you take, the peels have to be turned around almost immediately. And so this is a massive opportunity. We also have issues of conflict around agriculture, and people forget that this so-called herdsmen and farmers conflict is an agricultural conflict. It is not outside the agricultural thing, and it's a resource conflict. For most part, all the information is a fight for resources from pastoralists and farmers. And so our intervention is an opportunity to also test out something that does not put so much pressure on foliage, which is grass, and gives animals opportunities. We know that animals eat crops, especially cassava. So we know that this is attractive to animals, and it's been tested out and animals love it. So processing this waste. And finally, it is also an opportunity to start to prove that the gap between the gown, which is academia, and town is really a non-existent gap. If we take ideas from our researchers and we start to push them into places where it can make improvement on people's lives, it will be a certainly powerful thing. Our role as Synergos is to be a catalyst for changing the system, for strengthening the system, for making it better. So this is what we're doing. We're being a catalyst, we're testing it out, and we're seeing how far it can work commercially. And if it works commercially, hopefully it will be replicated across the country. We work in 3 states on agricultural value chain and system strengthening. We work in Kaduna, which we just started, but we've worked for a long time in Kogi and Benue State. I mean, it's important to give credit to the governor of Benue State, as we gave credit to the incredible people of Ojakpata and their governor in Kogi State. The governor has been a champion for this kind of intervention, and we are working closely with the private sector. So here in Benue State, we have a slightly different model. We have an off-taker ready to take the cassava peels and use them for their own ranch. That's already ready. There's a ready-made market. The women are the ones now taking what used to be problems for them, the cassava peels, and supplying it. So they are earning money from what never used to be money. And they're forming cooperatives to do that, which is a significant process. There's always a challenge in logistics, because the cassava producing side is a little bit of distance from the factory. But it allows us to create another cluster in the cassava producing side to organize them into a business, and a business that delivers to the factory. The challenge is that we are not a rich organization. If we had a lot of money and we had a lot of grants, we would be doing a lot of even more exciting things. But also our own style is not completely well understood. So we have to work on getting people to understand our style. Our style is not to put our fingerprints on everything we're doing. It's just to be a catalyst, to allow the people to be at the forefront of the change rather than us be at the forefront of the change. To ensure that they're capable people who can take the interventions that we start and turn it into their own and maintain it and sustain it, and to ensure that the government is better prepared to create an enabling environment for farmers. So there are challenges. So for example, farming for most part, and even livestock farming as well, is supply-led rather than demand-led. It means that we don't really know as much as we should about the markets. We develop crops, we develop cassava because that's what we've been producing. You know, what kinds of cassava? So for example, Nigeria is the largest producer of cassava in the world, apparently. But we have about, I think, maximum about 30 products from cassava. Brazil, the third, has about 230 or something products from cassava. So there's an opportunity. You know, agriculture is an opportunity to also industrialize our economy, to also leapfrog into digital technology. So there's a lot of very exciting things in agriculture. It's an incredible opportunity for Nigeria to focus on agriculture, to become an agricultural superpower. And we can do that. We are so blessed in this country with the amazing capacity that our land, our foliage has, but we don't yield as much as most other countries do. How do we become first in cassava with our yield so low? Our yield is extremely low. I'm not talking about putting chemicals. I'm talking about nutrients that are in the soil and supporting it. I'm talking about smart ways to do agriculture. I'm not also talking about intensive farming with machinery, but I'm talking about organizing our small farmers more effectively. So it's about participation. It'll take time. It'll take quite a bit of time, but the future is really bright. Well, because actually women are the majority of the labor force in farming. We also know that women in farming means that there's a better income for the family. We also know for a fact that women are more capable of listening to the challenge that we have of making sure that we have nutritionally inspired agriculture. So when we're talking about food safety, we're talking about many of our people, especially the young, die because of the quality of food they eat, the quality of water they have, the nutritional benefit that's available. So women are more inclined to listen, think about the family interest, and apply things in the family interest. And so our commitment in Synergos to women in agriculture is very consistent with the data. It's objective information. We're not just liberal, or we're not just people who are committed just for the sake of social engineering, but because this is what works. You know, if we're asking other people to come into agriculture, we're saying young people come into agriculture, but we're ignoring women who are in agriculture, who are already committed to agriculture, who do agriculture every day, who farm, who sell.
We don't need any
convincing. They're already there. Then we have failed. The future of agriculture in Nigeria depends on how we treat the people currently in agriculture. And if we don't treat women effectively, we have failed in agriculture. You will not have diversification of the economy. So I don't think that it's an option to say, well, we love women. I hope we do, but I think that we also love ourselves. And excellence for women in agriculture is excellence for agriculture, period. I just think that people should stop complaining and start organizing for a diversified economy. There's too much complaint. There's too much time on people's hands. People need to recognize, yes, things are painful. People are struggling to maintain their dignity. But if you really want to maintain your dignity, it comes from hard work. It comes from sacrifice. And even if it's not going to change for you fundamentally, it can change for your children and your children's children. So I say our challenge is to build a better society for our children and our children's children. And that is fundamentally now, in the next 10 to 15 years, it's going to depend largely on agriculture.
The DG of National Youth Service Corps has said corps members will be posted to farms as a PPA subsequently. Is this a good step in the right direction? Will it help the agricultural development of the country? Let's hear the response of Nigerians on Street Vibes.
Actually, it is not a bad idea. But when we look at the Nigerian sector and the Nigeria as a whole, let's look at the issue of bringing someone that studied medicine and surgery, taking him to the farm to do what? So it's not actually encouraging the sector itself, the agricultural sector itself, but instead on human capital as a medical doctor is not also adding value to him. But if it's something like taking people that studied agricultural courses, making them specialize in that area of what they've studied, bringing innovation, bringing what they've studied from classroom, taking it to the field, practical aspect of it, I think it will help the agricultural sector.
Types of primary assignments, when you see a couple that wants to be out from school, that is out from school, and they now want to post them out. Now, looking at the area of specialization, going to the farm, they don't know what farm is all about. Not everyone knows what farm, unless when they are being taught what they are going there to do as a primary assignment. So in terms of that, I would say if the government will really look into that and teach them before going to that place, because most of them will get there and they will still not know what farm is all about.
They are there to serve their father's land now. Anybody can be posted to anywhere, but by bringing it proper to the agricultural program, it will help the country a lot.
If they should kind of deploy them into that area, it definitely will boost our economy. Because right from inception, from 1960, before the discovery of crude oil, it's been assisting the economy, and all over the world, we can see that agriculture has a great impact because the product actually has diverse resources, raw material, which we can get from India.
They are still bubbling with energy, and this is one of the ways that they could even gears their bubbling energy towards, producing food for the masses of this country. It's one of the main goals that we must achieve. Particularly we in Africa, we are predominantly farmers, and if we could go back to farm, most of those problems, even half of our problems will have been half solved.
I think taking coppers to farm would definitely help us develop our economy. But then the question is it everybody that can farm? Like me now, if they take me to farm, I'm sorry, I will just do nonsense there. But then we need more people to get involved in agriculture, because that's one of our strongest points in this country. And if we can grow things and produce them, then it's a very good idea.
Nigeria has too much potentials in the agricultural sector to only focus on oil. It's time for us to retrace our steps back to agriculture. This brings us to the end of the program. Many thanks for watching. If you missed any part of the show, log on to Agro Nigeria TV on YouTube, as each episode of Agro On TV is available for your view. Send your comments and suggestions to our social media platforms and they'll be showcased on the program. You can advertise your products and services on the show, as well as contact us for the management of agricultural projects and events. So come here again next week. I remain Faith as a Think growth, think agriculture. Bye for now.